And welcome back to Music Free Static. I hope you're having a fabulous day. And I want to know what the heck is happening with streaming. I mean, the streaming space is just weird right now. And, you know, I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing, but it's definitely going through some transitions. And it's just, I'm trying to wrap my head around it a little bit, and I'm not entirely sure that I have. So work with me here as I walk through what I'm seeing. And if you have comments, of course, you can comment on Spotify or YouTube or whatever. But let's dig into this. And I want to start with a little bit of background and what's got me thinking about this a little bit. Okay, so I've seen a number of posts from longtime streamers who are just giving up on streaming. Okay, basically they're saying, I can't make a living at this anymore, and they're leaving. Okay, and if you follow Zach Bussey on any of the creator media places, Twitter, or Blue Sky, or whatever, I'm in his Discord, you can see a lot of these types of things, and it's weird. I keep going back to weird because that's just, I'm not understanding what's going on here completely. Okay, I kind of have some idea, but let's go back a little bit before I start really rambling about my lack of whatever. Okay, right. Game streaming has been around for a long time, right? Twitch has been sort of the king of streaming. I was going to say streaming media, but for live streaming media, okay? Twitch has been king. Kind of still is in a lot of ways, okay? But if you wanted to watch somebody play anything from Minecrafter to Call of Minecrafter? What the heck? Minecraft or Call of Duty or Minesweeper. I've seen that too, right? Any number of things, Twitch was the place to be. And yeah, you had some weird nooks of, okay, here's somebody playing live music, or here's somebody painting or crocheting or whatever. That was a thing, right? I liked when she was still doing them. I loved watching streams by Lindsay Sterling, right? Lindsay is she's a violinist. Okay, she started doing violin to like dubstep and things like that, and has moved on to sort of pop and at times rock violin, and it's really cool. Okay, she's great. I love her music, and she'd do these live streams that were just her practicing, kind of. She'd work through playing a song that was just her, just solo, no backing track, no band, nothing. It was just her, and she was chatting with her fans, and she was playing a lot of her music that was requested by the audience, all that, or, by the audience chat, right? And it was great. But those types of streams were really the outliers, okay? Now, as the space has changed, and this is where things are starting to get interesting, okay? Not weird, interesting, okay? There's been this big increase in non-gaming streams on Twitch, okay? And I'm not just talking about the hot tub streams where you're half a step off of a porn stream, okay? Now, we're seeing the growth of, yes, music streams. DJ streams are huge. I all credit to Dan Clancy here, which I hate giving him credit for lots of things, but they really pushed out their new DJ category a couple of months ago, and a new program for DJs. Now, they were kind of forced into it because of pressure from the music industry, but there were a lot of DJs, like club DJs, who were doing sets on Twitch. And I found a couple that I've listened to now at work, because I happen to find high energy dance music, especially stuff that doesn't have a lot of lyrics, but any high energy dance music, really helpful when I'm working and I'm slogging through documentation. And so, hey, this has introduced me to a new scene that I was not even aware of, and it's great. Now, I don't speak German, which really causes problems since most of the DJs seem to be German, but that's okay, right? But there's some other things that are starting to pop up on Twitch, and that's political talk radio. Really, not to put too fine a point on it, but that's really what it is, right? You've got, who is it? Hasanabi, I guess, if I'm getting the name right, on Twitch, who's a big like left-wing talker, right? Now, and this is a thing. This has been a thing in, like I said, I don't want to get into politics, but we're going to get just high level. This has been a thing in the American right-wing sphere for decades. Okay, alternative media sources, alternative sources for news and opinion and all that stuff. Because on the conservative right-wing side of things, it's been talk radio, right? Going back at least until into the 70s and 80s, when you had Rush Limbaugh and later Glenn Beck and, you know, Mark Levin and all these people, right? Well, those things still exist. Obviously, talk radio is still a huge thing in the United States, but more and more this is moving online. And it's not just politics, right? A lot of podcasts that you see now are also based off of live streams, right? They start as a live stream and are edited into a podcast. Sometimes lightly edited, sometimes just, okay, we did this, now we need to slap our bumpers on it, and right, that type of thing, right? And there's, you know, a couple of podcasts like that I listen to, like Comic Book Nation, has been doing this for a while. They stream on YouTube. I think they used to stream on Twitch. I don't know if they still do. Phase Hero, which is a group of people that used to be on the Comic Book Nation Phase Zero podcast. And when comicbook.com was sold to somebody else, this group was cut loose. And so they formed up again and did their own thing. Sliding slightly back into politics a little bit, Reason TV has a podcast, Just Asking Questions, but they stream over on X. Okay. And, you know, they're not alone, right? And what's interesting, and this is something we found out in the last election, and again, I don't want to get into politics of it. We're just going to talk the high level of what the heck is going on, right? What they've found is a lot of people are foregoing the traditional media sources for more non-traditional sources, right? Again, podcasts and streams, like Hasanabi is a big example of that, again, on the left-wing side. But you've got all of these people who are now streaming, and it's not the game streaming that we've been doing for years, right? And it's just, I don't think the streaming space as a whole quite knows what it's doing with itself at the moment. And I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing, okay? But that's kind of where things are at the moment, right? And what's weird is I don't know that Twitch knows what it's doing, okay? So Twitch, I'm sure you all know, but Twitch grew up as a gaming place. It started as Justin TV, became Twitch, and it was the place for live streamed gaming content. Okay? And it's great. I streamed on Twitch for years. You know, until, shoot, it's been over a year now. I mean, it's a couple of years when I moved back to YouTube for streaming. And I'll get to that in a minute. But Dan Clancy took over, and aside from cutting out what's basically ended up being about half the staff over a couple of years, he's been making some interesting changes. Now, I don't necessarily think the job cuts were a bad thing. I've talked about that on the podcast before. But he is making some interesting choices, and I don't know that they're good for the traditional streamer on Twitch, okay? The biggest one being Stream Together, which the reality is most streamers are not streaming with somebody else. They're playing something on their own, Okay. The vast majority of streamers. Now, the general consensus is that if you want to grow, you need to collaborate because that gets you out in front of other audiences. Okay, that's fair. But Stream Together, at least in theory, tries to solve that. The catch is the way Twitch CEO Dan Clancy is pushing this almost ignores a streamer's biggest collaborator, and that's chat. Okay. Now they are starting to come together with things like shared chat, which is interesting. Okay. Like if I know there are times I've been watching, I watch a lot of Hermitcraft and Hermitcraft streams. So you've got, like, I'll watch Impulse SV and Tango Tech and Gemini Tay and Pro Ascent Moon, all these people, right? And sometimes they're streaming and they just happen to run into each other, and now they're streaming together, not using Twitch's Stream Together. They're just doing stuff on both streams, and it is convenient sometimes to be able to see both chats. Now, it helps that neither of them have chats that are so huge you can't follow them, right? Like Impulse and Tango, they tend to have viewer counts in the 2,000 to 3,000, sometimes 4,000 viewer range. Okay, but we're not talking about people where the chat just scrolls. Okay, so those types of situations, sure, it makes sense, but it's just weird the way it's being pushed to Twitch. And there are some people who are just abusing it, right? One of the DJ streamers I follow uses it to cross stream. She has a gaming channel as well. And so when she starts her gaming on her gaming channel, she fires up a Stream Together on her DJ channel, right? To bring up both those audiences together, bring her DJ audience over to her gaming stuff. Okay. Not quite, I think, the way Clancy had it in mind. Okay. Then on top of all of this, we're getting the growth of a live streaming format that doesn't work for gaming, right? And I'm talking about vertical streaming. Okay. And this is something, of course, we're seeing out of TikTok. YouTube's been doing vertical live. They've been pushing that hard. I think Instagram has been doing this for a while. The vertical format is horrific for gaming. Okay? Because games are wide, right? They're built around your monitor, right? So they're, whether it's your regular regular or widescreen or whatever, it's still a horizontal layout. But vertical streaming, on the other hand, is good for other things. The DJ streams I mentioned before, right? Talk, cooking streams, and real life streams. Everything that is not gaming. And this is, it's just crazy to see a lot of this stuff change. Now, I'm not going to say this is a bad thing, right? Because no, I don't watch vertical streams, right? I don't watch TikTok. I do throw clips from my streams at Music Free Gaming over onto TikTok, but I don't watch it. And while I do watch a lot of YouTube, and I even watch streams on YouTube, I'm not watching vertical streams. I'm watching Let's Plays. I'm watching gameplay. I'm watching those types of things. Okay. So I think the rise of vertical streaming is really an indicator, maybe is the right word here, of the shift in what live streaming is. Okay. Because the reality is live streaming has almost exclusively been gaming content. Now, I want to caveat that by, yes, you could watch live streams of your local news. 24/7 news channels have had a live stream, which is basically just watch our TV broadcast on our website, right? Okay, yeah, technically that would be a stream. Sure. But all of this the ad hoc, I'm going to call it non-professional, but I don't think that's actually accurate. But all of this ground up, uh maybe that's not the right word. We're not grinding up streamers, people, or maybe we are. Get to that in a minute. But this rise of the amateur, perhaps, if you want to put it that way. And I'm not going to say these are people who are uninformed. A lot of these streamers, a lot of these people who are doing politics podcasts or other things may be just as well informed or better informed than your typical talking head on Fox or MSNBC or CNN or wherever. Okay. I don't know. I don't watch those. I do listen to some political podcasts, and yes, these are very often people who are very well read, very well, very knowledgeable in the things that they're talking about. But it's all starting at the bottom. And again, we're not talking about hot tub streams, which also occasionally starts at the bottom. We're talking about people like me who are firing up a webcam and they are talking, they're streaming, they're doing the thing. Okay? Now, it makes a lot of sense, especially now. Okay? Streaming has never been easier to do. It's never been easier to get into live streaming. Okay? Because going live on Twitch has been easy for a long time. You, at the very bare bones simplest, if all you had was a microphone and a PlayStation or an Xbox, you could go live on Twitch. I think you could also go live on YouTube, but this is just built into like the PS4. It's built into the Xbox. Was it Xbox One? I don't know. I lost track of Xbox's numbering scheme, but it's that simple. Or if most computers, if you've got a webcam, you could go live and just be a talking head. Okay, but game streaming is really easy because OBS is getting easier and easier to use. If you want to get to something that's a little bulkier, right? You've got things like Streamlabs, Desktop, Stream Elements puts their own. They have a plugin for OBS, so you can use all of their stuff. But they make it really easy, right? It's very easy to get all of this stuff working. Okay, hardware is even mediocre hardware like I've got. It still works great for live streaming. Okay, depending on what game you're playing, or if you're not playing a game, it's even easier because it's just a freaking webcam, right? Or if you've got the money and you're setting up DSLR and all of that stuff. For more details, see Senpai Gaming, right? Harris Heller and all of his stuff, or any number of the other people talking about hardware in the streaming space. But there are also more platforms to be streaming on, right? I've already talked about Twitch, talked about YouTube, right? Twitch obviously has been the king of, again, I'm going to use the phrase amateur live streaming for a while. YouTube has done live streams. When I first started out back in 2017, my first stream was actually around this time, Thanksgiving. Because I got my PS4 on Thanksgiving or Thanksgiving week. And that's when I did my first streams. I started streaming to YouTube. So this has been a thing for a while, right? Twitch and YouTube. Trovo still exists. Glimish died, right? Which is a thing we'll talk about in a minute. Mixer died. I loved Mixer, but even Microsoft couldn't keep that going. I'd get to that in a minute. I'm putting a lot of stuff off. We'll get to a lot of things here in a minute. But X is really pushing its live streaming services now. I know there are a lot of political talkers doing things on X. I already mentioned reason, but I think, was it Tucker Carlson? Is that who it is? He's been doing live streaming on X, and a lot of people have, okay? And X, I think just this week, as I'm recording this, pushed out a new URL, x.com/username/live, and you can see the person's last live stream or their current one if they're currently live. Of course, we already talked about TikTok and Instagram, of course, also. Rumble is a thing, and a lot of people like to dismiss Rumble. Oh, it's this right-wing. And yes, it's because a lot of right-wingers got tired of the left-wing biases that they perceived over on YouTube, whether they exist or not, and they went up and they set up a separate thing. Now, whether or not you agree with the left-right argument is irrelevant to the fact that there's now a separate platform. That's not a bad thing, right? Competition is great, right? We saw Twitch roll out a lot of things in response to Mixer, right? Mixer had a built-in channel point system almost from the get-go. And they had a very interactive streaming setup, right? Out of the box, they just had some things, right? It would show GIFs, it would show a number of things, right, that you could do. Or you could actually build your own control panel almost that your viewers could use to do whatever they want to. They could play games, they could interact with your stream, they could, and it was completely flexible and completely up to you. So Twitch rolled out their new channel points. It's been around for a while now, with buttons to do interactive things, right? This is good. The competition is great. This is a good thing. Okay. Sadly, Mixer's died. Glimpse, which was a burgeoning streaming service, but their focus was not on public streams as much, but on private experiences. Okay. The idea that your supporters would subscribe, right? Similar to what you would see like on Patreon or Ko-fi or Fourth Wall, right? And they could be part of private streams and things, right? Well, that just collapsed last month, okay? It's gone now, right? But then there are also just other weird platforms coming up. Noise is apparently a thing. I opened the website for the first time yesterday. There were streams, mostly gaming, right? Or, if you're on the sort of the real fringe and are into sort of the Nostr Bitcoin crowd, there's things like Zap.stream and things like that, right? There are a huge number of platforms. The question is one of stability, and that's where we get back into Mixer, right? Turns out live streaming is expensive. It's expensive to run a company just on live streams. When Mixer was really growing, it was really looking like it was going to give Twitch a run for its money. And I guess it was Beam at the time, which I guess there's now a new streaming system called Beam again, right? Because everything that's old is new again or something. But Beam got purchased by Microsoft, who then rebranded it Mixer. They spent big bucks on a number of big streamers, Ninja and I forgot who else. And it was just crazy. And I loved being on Mixer. The latencies were really low, which made it perfect for certain types of games. It was a great place. But Microsoft, even with all of their money, and they had a built-in ecosystem with Xbox and Windows for that matter. And they just could not make it happen. And so they shut down Mixer, sold off the brand assets to Facebook, I think. Rigged a deal with Facebook Gaming, which is apparently still a thing, maybe? I don't know. I'm not on Facebook anymore. But yeah, it just died. Glimish was a thing. You remember Glimish? No, neither do I. Okay, so we're seeing this explosion of live content. And again, it's a lot of gaming content because that's where this bottom-up streaming space really started. But it's exploding into into more than that, right? It's exploding into basically talk radio, right? And I don't mean that in I don't mean that in a way that would be putting it down. I mean that in a way of, hey, we're going to forego the game because what makes streaming fun is the personalities, right? Who are you talking to, right? Who's the person playing the game? What are they saying? What are they like? That's why people watch streams. Sure, the game is nice, right? Depending on the game, right? If you're watching Fortnite or Call of Duty or something like that, often people are gravitating towards the elite in those spaces, okay? We're talking, these are the best of the best, right? These are the professional, competitive players, hence, Ninja and, those types of people. But what keeps them coming back to other streamers, especially you look at like variety streamers, these are people that are not playing the same game over and over and just really good at it. These are people that are playing lots of games. Okay, maybe it's Minecraft, maybe it's Subnautica, maybe it's Satisfactory or Fortnite or COD or Phasmophobia or whatever, right? They're just, and it's not the game so much that people are attracted to, it's the personality. Well, what if you just took away the game? Okay. And that's a lot of the reason why I do a podcast, is there's things I want to talk about, but I find it hard to focus on my topic enough while I'm gaming, right? When you watch my streams, I get a little distracted by things anyway, right? I think I have a little bit of an ADHD brain, and yeah, I could play and I get really into what I'm doing. And yes, okay, I'm talking about the latest show, right? Oh, Ahsoka was really great. I loved this, that, and the other. Oh, look, I need to build this, and build this. And 45 minutes later, I haven't said anything about Ahsoka or whatever it is I was talking about, right? Yeah, it's like, if we could just take the game away, just focus on talking. Yeah, that's 100% a thing, okay? That is 100% a thing. Do we keep that going? How is this working for people? I don't know. But that's my question. How's it working? Now, the reality is, despite the fact that anybody can stream, almost nobody is making money from this, okay? Including a lot of the companies, okay? I think live streaming on YouTube is subsidized by their ridiculously huge non-streaming business. The reality is, just like any other professional experience, very few people are really, really winning, okay? Now, there are a few people like Kai Cenat, who just broke Twitch's sub record with, what's it, like 500,000 subs, which is just barely beating out, or at least when he broke it. Obviously, when you get one more sub than the previous record, you're just barely beating it. But beating the previous record by Iron Mouse, who had said it just a couple of weeks before, right? Now, think about that for a minute. This is 500,000 subs. They've got millions of concurrent viewers. Maybe not. I actually haven't looked at the numbers. But their numbers are huge, right? Anyone who is getting, I said 500,000 people subscribing to their channel, that's huge. That's bigger than a lot of your cable shows, like your cable news shows, right? When you have high-end celebrities showing up on Kai Cenat's stream, this is a big deal. It shows that there is a massive shift happening with streaming, right? It's amazing to see, because it's a very democratized system in a lot of ways, right? Anybody could come up and then suddenly, yeah, they don't have to try to break in through some journalism school. They don't have to try to push their way up through whatever to get big. They just have to shine on Twitch. They can fire up their stream and they can go. And again, it could be Twitch, it could be YouTube, could be anything, and suddenly explode, right? It's just, it's a really awesome space, but the reality is, again, very few people are making it big. And I think a lot of this is showing partly that streaming is growing up a little bit, okay? You are seeing higher production values or bigger things happening on these big streams, and it's there's sort of an expectation that if you don't have this on your stream, you're just not worth watching, which makes it hard for somebody just getting started. Because while streaming hardware is getting cheaper, it's not cheap, okay? Right? A good webcam, you're starting at $150. Okay. There might be some a little bit cheaper, but if you start with like the Link 360, they just rolled out a new camera, not their PTZ camera, but they've got one that's just fixed. That's a really nice camera. It's $150, and webcams just go up from there. And the state of the art is a DSLR or other actual mirrorless camera, something like that, that you pull video off of. Okay. That's not cheap. You're talking thousands of dollars for the camera body, the lenses, right, and all that stuff. Capture cards and all of that. Okay. You don't have to go there, but that is the state of the art for your professional streamer. Okay. And keep in mind, professional doesn't mean you're getting 500 million subs. Professional might mean you've got 2,000 or 3,000 concurrent viewers, right? I'm speaking to my Hermitcraft crowd here, right? But yeah, to get all of those, to get all of the graphics and the overlays and to actually do all of the things that make it look pretty and polished, it's not cheap, okay? So, but on the other hand, it's cheaper to buy a Stream Deck Plus with the XLR or USB hub or whatever, or a what's Beacon just rolled out or you can just get the Beacon Mix Create or a Beacon mic, and okay, yes, those are $250 devices, right? That starts to add up to $1,000 of peripherals, not even counting your computer. On the other hand, just the Beacon mic, that $250, is about what you'd pay for an XLR interface and a good microphone. And audio is the winner in all of this, right? You need to have good audio to succeed, especially if you're getting out of the gaming space and people aren't there to watch you frag zombies. They're there to listen to you chat into a microphone. Okay, so all of this is the world that exists. But we're seeing streamers drop out of it. Because the grind is real, y'all. You know, I'm taking a break from video production. I'm still streaming. The podcast being the one thing, because I need an outlet to talk about stuff that I have a hard time doing while I'm streaming. But what is happening here? I think we're starting to see a little bit of a realignment. I don't know what it's going to look like. I think the diversification of content is a good thing, but we don't know what any of this is going to look like. And that's exciting, and it's scary, and it's weird when your streaming platform starts doing stupid things like prioritizing maybe one sort of content over the other, to the point that, like Twitch, where it's like, we're going to build a system that focuses on the talk streamers, but all the gaming streamers that help build that platform are like, but what? Yeah, no, it's weird. I have no clue what's going on. Okay, which is, again, why I'm rambling through this. It's like, I like seeing the diversity, right? Just like the implosion of Twitter really pushed a lot of people right into Blue Sky, into Threads, which just sprung up overnight. And of course, I prefer Nostr, but I'm weird like that. I think we're seeing that in the streaming space, kinda, right? Again, I just listed a whole bunch of those platforms that still exist, but Are they still going to exist in 2 years? Well, YouTube probably will. Okay. TikTok, Rumble's got some money behind it, maybe. But what's going to happen to the streamers? I don't know. It's just like, in some ways, there are you don't see a lot of those middle tier movies anymore in the theaters, right? You've got your big blockbusters, you get your Marvel and your Star Wars and whatever. And you get your low budget horror, stuff like that. But those middle tier movies, those things like Ghostbusters, right? From the 80s, is one of those movies that was not designed to be a blockbuster. They didn't spend a ridiculous amount of money on it, but found a nice niche. And now here we are 30 years later, and we're getting new sequels, and that have been pretty good. I don't know. My concern is that we're going to start seeing some of these platforms, as they realize how expensive this is, focus on the whales and leave everyone else out of it. Right? You're already seeing this a little bit with X. You cannot stream to X unless you pay for the blue check mark. Okay. Unless you pay for it, you can't stream. We may start seeing that on other platforms as well. Okay. Whether that's good or bad, I can't say. I can't say. It will hurt those who are just wanting to get into it to dip their toes in. But that may be where things go. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. But I'm having fun watching it. If you want more on streaming news, of course, Zach Bussey is great. There are a number of other places where you can find more about what's going on in the streaming space. But definitely check it out, because if you're at all interested in this stuff, it's fun to see, and it's interesting to see what the heck is going on and watching it change. It's really cool, but it can be really scary at the same time. So anyway, I've rambled on for a lot longer than I needed to. Thank you all for watching, listening to me today. Remember, you can subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, on YouTube, or any other place where podcasts are distributed. So check that out, or go to musicfreegaming.com/podcast and get that. You can also support my work over there as well. So until next time, be excellent to each other. And this is Music Free Static signing off.